and welcome to the Skeptical Leftist Podcast, the show where I talk to a variety of people to spread critical thinking, progressive politics, and left-wing philosophy. And today I'm joined by Tori Glass.
Hello. Thanks for
again.
having me back. Yeah, that's awesome.
Appearance number 3 on
Happy
the Skeptical Leftist.
My favorite number.
There we go. Right on. So I guess, just in case people don't know who you are yet, what do you do? Who are you?
Yeah, great question. So I have 2 podcasts. One of them is called Go Home Bible, You're Drunk, which is an ex-evangelical podcast. And we re-examine the Bible and try to stay on top of what the evangelicals are up to, which is mostly doing a lot of fascism in the U.S. Try to kind of re-examine what we were taught about the Bible, ask all the questions we were not allowed to ask growing up in church.
Right.
So that's that show, and occasionally we'll have guests on to talk about different things that they're doing, etc. And then I have a podcast called White Homework that is about anti-racism and collective liberation and what that looks like, and trying to reimagine what the world could be like if everyone's needs were met, given that we have enough to meet everyone's needs, right?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so, the scarcity is artificial.
That's the bumper sticker I need. Oh my God. I've been looking for years for the perfect bumper sticker, right? And that is the one I need. The scarcity is artificial. God, yeah, that's for perfect.
Sure. We have to make these things because they don't exist yet.
Make it. I'll put it on my car.
Yeah. No, right on. I listen to White Homework all the time. I'm a supporter of yours on Substack. I love White Homework, but I don't listen to Go Home Bible, You're Drunk very much. So
yeah, that's okay.
But I am more and more getting back into the kind of paying attention to religious stuff, because it seems like it is super deeply tied to the rise of fascism in the United States.
Yes.
Donald Trump has a pretty huge evangelical support base.
And there is nothing he can do that will dissuade those people, which is pretty astounding. Yeah.
Yeah, including his support or his friendship with Jeffrey Epstein, which is something that nobody can stop talking about right now.
Right.
It's everywhere. And I just, I would have thought by now that he would have lost some support. I don't know, maybe are his numbers tanking at all?
I mean, I don't know. It's weird. Everything feels kind of relative, and it depends on the week and the way, at least our media is all just, corporations that are run by stakeholders, right? And so the information that we get is it feels more and more manipulated, I'll say. So I don't even, even if his numbers are down, they find ways to frame it differently.
Yeah, for sure.
Right. So, the behind the scenes work going into keeping Trump in power. This isn't my yarn wall conspiracy theory or anything, but the fact that the U.S. media took him seriously as a candidate at all is why he's president.
Yeah.
They didn't need to do that because he's not a serious person. They could have just dismissed him out of hand, but they wanted the clicks.
Yeah.
Right? They wanted the buzz. They wanted the money. That's all it was ever about. And now they get to live with the consequences of that because he's not loyal at all.
Right? Yeah,
right? So
sure.
He's you're not allowed to say this. You owe me $15 million. You're not allowed to hire this person or publish this thing about me. Right? It's really wild how he just gets to call all of the shots about everything,
it's strange. Yeah.
And it doesn't really make any sense. And of course, they're just sort of falling all over themselves to capitulate early and often. And it's what are we even doing here, people?
Yeah. It always I always think of the free speech debate that we were having in pre 2016. We were talking about deplatforming and what does free speech mean? And then all of a sudden, like, we've got this guy who will say anything, and
Yeah.
he's getting plastered all over the place, and like, now free speech just means whatever he wants it to.
Yeah. Yep. And it's really interesting, right? Because there was a narrative that on the right in this country about the importance of free speech, and now we're realizing they don't mean that, right? When they talk about religious freedom or freedom of speech or these different rights that they're very attached to, what they mean is for them. You know,
Yeah.
this ties directly back to the evangelicalism of it all, where they're the ones who really actually were being proactive and crafting this narrative of what, you know, freedom of speech and freedom of religion, meaning functionally Christian supremacy.
Right. Right.
You know, and they've been working on this for many decades at this point as an explicit project, and that's what I was raised in. Weirdly, I know it's very strange, but as a child growing up, my mom, I may have mentioned this before, but my mom was an anti-abortion activist.
Right.
And so she was trying to get abortion banned in our state. And, when I was a child, and so she was organizing for all of that. And if, folks know about Phyllis Schlafly, who is like an anti-feminist organizer, agitator, and her organization, Eagle Forum, my mom was involved in that.
Yeah.
And, she got an award from Phyllis Schlafly, right?
Really?
Like, that's like how active she was in these
Wow.
spaces. And so, from a very young age, I was being told we need to take over the Supreme Court in order to get abortion banned. Like, that was
Right.
something I was told when I was single digits, and it was really important. I'm the oldest of 5. It was really important to have really big families so that you could have a lot of Republican votes,
Right.
20 years down the line. My mom, especially, like, my mom more than my dad, but my mom especially, it was like everything that, like, the Republicans are now is what I was being taught as a small child.
Right.
And so I kind of have, and this is something we talk about a lot about on Go Home Bible You're Drunk, we have this really interesting kind of lens on things, because they are a lot of the people who started these conversations and started framing this narrative. They did not live to see their successes, but
Right.
they are succeeding.
Yeah, like Jerry
And-
Falwell and
Yep.
his ilk, eh?
Yeah, absolutely. The people who, originally, like, we talk about it as like originating around anti-abortion, kind of anti-healthcare access sort of agitating, right? But it was actually those particular people were sort of like lost in the wilderness before they found that particular narrative to glom onto and to start reproducing and fomenting in churches, especially post segregation, right? Like, they had originally been advocating for segregation and trying to keep those laws on the books as much as possible. And once they lost that, they kind of had to pivot to something else that was a little more politically correct, I guess. Somehow, right. And it was like, obviously it was going to be like taking rights away from women, right?
Right.
And because everyone can agree on patriarchy. And so that was really like where, that was where and how I came up. I was like really sort of not on purpose. I didn't consent to any of it, but like in the trenches of these narratives being crafted. And it really kind of sucks that, like, by the time I got out of that and I was like, oh, I'm an atheist, I don't believe any of this anymore, that they like started having all of these political wins.
Wow, eh? Yeah. At the same time as you're losing your faith, like, then everybody else is like, yeah. The other kids in your family, did they also lose their faith?
Mostly.
Yeah.
We're 80% out.
Well,
which is high, which is good.
Ratio.
Yeah. No, it's great. It's very impressive. Go team. I'm very proud of my siblings.
Sure.
But yeah, no, most of them are out, and we're all kind of like atheists / think it's funny to be not fun. I don't want to be disrespectful, but think it's fun to kind of cosplay as Satanists because it agitates so many people.
It does.
And
well,
it agitates the right kinds of people.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
I know people who are seriously Satanists, and like, it's not what people think it is.
Totally.
Like,
It's not. It's not, which is why I said I don't want to be disrespectful, but it's
yeah,
like sometimes, sometimes we're just kind of like, oh yeah, I'll take that like imagery and like, share it on social
for
media
sure.
or whatever. That's cool. Yeah, no, it's not what most people think it is, which is very true. So
Yeah, I enjoy the odd time just being like, well, if that's what Satanism is, then yes, call me a Satanist.
exactly, exactly. I'm like, oh, like you want me to put a goat head on my front door at Christmas time? Yes, I will do that actually. It's
Yeah,
fine. Who
okay.
cares?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right. You'll burn in hell. That I don't believe it. I don't think that's a thing. So
Not
yeah,
worried about it. Thanks, guy.
yeah, yeah, that's right. No, it's funny. I know my dad is still kind of religious-ish.
Mm, okay.
Like it's weird because I grew up non-religious, and then my parents kind of found God as after they quit drinking when I was already a teenager.
Oh, okay. That makes
So then,
sense.
so then I was just like, none of this makes sense to me. Like you didn't raise
Hmm.
me this way, and now all of a sudden I'm supposed to fall in line. And yeah, so I was always kind of like, well, whatever, believe what you want. And then,
Sure.
of course, in Saskatchewan, we have like a pretty large evangelical population. Like there's private schools that are religious that get
Mhm.
special funding and like
Oh my god.
yeah.
Oh my god. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it gets a lot, but the our premier, yeah, I think provincially it's called a premier.
Okay.
Uh, yeah, so he always gives a very religious Christmas message at Christmas, and
Wow. Okay.
I've gotten into like debates with my dad over this
Yeah.
nonsense.
Yeah.
It's one of those things that like, yeah, it affects like, I mean, obviously I'm in Canada, but it's the same culture, right?
Mhm.
US and Canada, we think we're separate somehow, but we're not.
Not really.
So yeah, it's wild the influence that religion has on our politics.
Yeah, and it's something that I feel really bad about because the US has for centuries at this point been like sending out missionaries to other countries to like convert them to functionally capitalism, right? Like
Right.
it's not even really about
Yeah.
Jesus. It's like is Jesus is how they get the capitalism in the door into like a
Right.
lot of these countries, right? Because you can't object to people's religion because that's mean or something.
Right.
And so yeah, unfortunately, like we have had a disproportionate amount of global influence. And truthfully, like the one and I see that like bleeding out into Canada, into Latin America.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, right? Like
Yeah.
that's just being real. And the one kind of like silver lining that I feel like I can sort of make of what's going on in the world right now, as it pertains to the U.S., is that maybe we will lose some of our influence that we had no moral or ethical right to begin with. So
Right. Yeah.
I'm like, that wouldn't be bad. If people start ignoring us, that would be, we would deserve it. And I
Yeah.
think it would probably be, the world might be a safer place if we had less influence.
Yeah, I think that's probably fair.
Yeah. We
I
don't need it. You have to earn that shit. Sorry.
I'm when we had our election here for prime minister
Yeah.
and federal election in not that long ago, it was Trump that essentially got the liberals elected. I mean,
Yep.
I am by far not a fan of Mark Carney right now, but
Sure. He seems like a liberal to like
yeah, yeah,
which is just sort of like,
he's
yeah,
a right winger,
sure.
just yeah. And but absolutely, it's Donald Trump that stopped us from electing our own version of Trump.
Hmm.
So thank you, I guess.
Yeah, no, other countries are seeing some pretty big, like at least moderate waves, I would say, waves towards like being moderate as opposed to being far right
Yeah,
because of how Trump is behaving. And I think that that is also a very good thing. And I'm grateful and wish I could maybe go to one of those places instead of being here. But,
yeah, yeah, for sure.
we can't all abandon ship at the same
Fair.
time, at least, because there's
Yeah,
still work to do here. So,
yeah. I often think like how I mean, obviously it's a pipe dream, right? Until things collapse. Like, it's a pipe dream to think that someday the United States won't be one country, but maybe
Mm,
multiple countries that are
mm.
smaller and can have, their own kind of like views and the kind of way of functioning. But
Yeah. I mean, I think you're right. I think that it would take the US collapsing for that to happen. I also think that you're probably right in that it would probably, again, be just a less harmful situation if we were like 5 or 6 countries instead of
right,
one.
yeah,
I mean that like kind of globally in terms of the harm that we would be
right,
doing would be reduced if there were just fewer resources.
yeah.
Um,
It's just like now the United States can't be the most dominant country in the world, right?
Right, right. And it's, I think the amount of and I very much see that as like it's very much like the light at the end of the tunnel is an oncoming train situation. And like I very much see that being the case potentially
Yeah,
again that we lose a significant amount of global influence because Trump is behaving so erratically at the end of the day. Like that's ultimately like all it really is. Like us being violent is like not something that the world does not expect at this point, right? Like
right.
us lashing out, finding somebody that we decide we hate this week and just lashing out at them is just that's par for the course. It's people
Yeah,
know
for
that
sure.
that's what we do and that really sucks. And so yeah, I think that I do very much foresee an outcome here where we lose a ton of influence, and I the only thing I worry about, the thing I worry about there the most, I guess is what I should say, is the amount of shame that people might feel and the way that people lash out when they feel shame, because
Right.
so many Americans find their entire identity and like personality in just being an American.
That's so sad.
It's really depressing. And I'm
It's
just
so
like, every time I see a truck go by with 2 massive US flags on the back, I'm
right.
just like, sorry, you don't have a personality. Like,
Yeah.
that sucks. Sorry, you're so insecure. Cause it's like, if you're number one, you don't need to run around saying I'm number one. People
Right.
can just see that.
Yeah.
Right. And, it's
Yeah.
weird because, yeah, a lot of people here are very much in denial that we're like on the
Yeah.
top of anything.
That's one of those things. It's interesting that so again, Donald Trump has increased the nationalism in Canada,
Yeah.
and so now you
Yep.
see a very similar kind of thing where people are driving down the highway with their Canadian flags on their truck, and you're like, oh, but no, thank you. I don't want to like elbows up. I'm not buying
Uh-huh.
Canadian, right? Like
Uh-huh.
I don't believe in this nationalist
Oh,
nonsense.
yeah. Totally. And it's so funny because from the US perspective, even people who I think would identify as pretty far left still see Canada as like a better version of the US,
Right.
you know? And it's like Canada is aspirational for us because like because the US does so much harm
Yeah, it's so bad.
globally.
Yeah.
And
Jeez.
so, yeah, it's really funny hearing you say that because I have this like I think I have maybe a more nuanced picture of Canada as being like, oh yeah, there's places that are liberal slash progressive and places that are much more conservative, and like Americans don't think about that. We're just like
Right.
they have socialized healthcare, so they're all commies. It's like no, babe, it's not like that.
Which
So
I mean, I'm glad that we have that because absolutely
totally,
the I was talking to a friend earlier today, and his nephew needs surgery on a brain tumor and lives in the United States, and insurance won't cover it. And so then
wow,
I guess the hospital said that they would do it for 20% of the cost.
okay,
And that still
yeah,
meant they had to have a GoFundMe for like $11,000 or
yep,
something.
yep,
But then 2 days before the surgery, the hospital was like, no, we're not going to do it for that. So now they need $35,000 or whatever.
yeah,
And it's like, okay, in Canada, you would just go on the list and you would get it done.
right, right,
Like,
yep.
it might not be done instantly, but like in 2 months, you'd have your surgery, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
and it's not the Mayo Clinic, that everybody
Sure.
like, but it's a doctor who can do the surgery and it doesn't
Yeah.
cost you your livelihood.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's interesting because here, like most of us aren't going to the Mayo Clinic either, right?
Right.
So it's like, who is even winning this game?
Right. Yeah, that's right. Like, in what way is the, yeah. And everything about the system, like, yeah, they're just not going to be able to get the surgery until they can collect that money. And I don't
That's
know.
wild.
Yeah. I don't know. It does make me grateful to be in Canada at
Yeah,
times,
sure.
but also, yeah, I don't want to pretend that we're utopia either.
Which, I mean, I think that's good. Like having a lens on your country, like birthplace or a place that you immigrated to, whatever the situation is, that is more realistic, I think is definitely a good sign. That it's like, oh yeah,
Right.
we're not. This isn't a perfect situation, right? Like there are pros and cons to being here, right? Like there are some cons, obviously, to being an American, but there are some pros too, right?
Right.
And
Right.
so they're trying to get rid of all of them, but there's still a few for the time being,
They're not
right?
all gone
Like
yet. Yeah.
yeah, no, they're yeah, they're speed running, getting rid of all of the pros of living here. And yeah, because it's like, oh, we just have stuff all of the time, like things that we should not have access to all of the time. Anything you want at the grocery store, you can get at any time of the year at any
Right.
grocery store. It's wild. Like that should
Yeah.
not be real, right?
Yeah, for sure.
um because again, like that cost there of, okay, like did the CIA murder a bunch of people so that we could have it? Because that's something that they've done, right? It's like
So that,
something
yeah.
so that we can have random shit in the grocery store in November that shouldn't be available to us, right? It's just it's all very strange. But yeah, I think having that lens of like, oh yeah, pros and cons. We're good at some things, and also we hurt more people than we help, it feels like. So
Right, right. I always think of like the coffee beans. I think like some people are gonna maybe have to sacrifice coffee during part of the
uh-huh.
year, right? Like
Uh-huh. Yeah.
for things to improve, we gotta we might not have that anymore.
Totally. And that, like, coffee, yeah, coffee's a really good one, because I'm just like, oh boy, people are gonna have a bad time about coffee.
Yeah, that's when the riots start.
I don't know that you're wrong, to be honest. There's like this little garage down like several blocks down the street from us that has hours posted on it. It doesn't have a name. There's no like business name. It just has like hours
Okay.
and like a phone number, I think. And I'm a millennial from the US. I do not make phone calls if I
Right.
can help it. So that doesn't help me really at all. But my partner was walking down the street, and there's this guy like pulling these bags, like big bags, into this garage. He's like, "Oh, what's going on here?" And this guy's like, "Oh, I just ordered a bunch of green coffee from Ethiopia. You want to buy some?" And
Wow.
kind of amazing.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think we have like 120 pounds of like unroasted like green coffee in like airtight containers,
Wow.
just in case.
Sure. Yeah, sure. There
I
might be
thought
a
that
shortage.
there might. Well, I think yeah, we'll definitely start seeing shortages. We might get through 120 pounds before shortages really hit. It's hard to say, but one thing that I will say is that that's expected, that there will be less production
Yeah.
because of global warming.
Yep,
And
for sure.
so, yeah,
Yeah, for sure.
it'll be a harder thing to get. And it's like, this happened when all of the tariffs were being thrown
Oh yeah.
about, right? And so, I was kind of like, oh, maybe we should think about like buying a lot of coffee. I don't know, in case we need to like trade for things.
Yeah, for
Who
sure.
knows?
Yeah.
I don't know how things are going to go down here. That's what I'm saying. And so I was like, we should just be prepared for every contingency. And it was really funny, because I was like, oh, we kept checking, and they hadn't, at the time at least, they hadn't put any like real tariffs on Ethiopia. And I was like, oh, maybe we have a trade surplus with them, because what we produce, most people in Ethiopia would rather get from like India or China, because it's going to be less expensive.
Right.
And we import a shit ton of coffee.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
maybe there's a trade surplus, and so they're not getting hit with the tariffs. I don't know. that was just my theory. But anyway, we have the coffee just in case anyone needs to barter for anything if the system
For sure.
collapses.
That's awesome. You've got currency.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, what are people really gonna need? It's like, yeah,
Yeah,
definitely coffee.
definitely.
So
Yep, for sure. I just read I think it was yesterday that now so Canada had an August 1st deadline for negotiations over these
oh my
tariffs.
okay. I'm
And
sorry. I'm
and
sorry.
now it's like Donald Trump said it's not going well. Canada is really hard to negotiate with. and and I guess there's just going to be some sort of punitive tariffs coming to our way now.
Well, okay. My understanding initially, he was like, oh, everybody's getting hit back in May or something, right? So
Yeah.
I'm just like, and there's this whole thing that like white liberals in the US are calling Trump taco,
Yeah, yeah.
right?
Because
And
he never
I'm just
follows
like,
through or whatever.
right. And it's like, and in my head, because I have tweens, so in my head, it's like taco stands for Trump always crashes out, which I think is also true. But that's not what the acronym is supposed to be
Right.
for. But yeah, I'm like, God, I hope that that's not true because it's like our countries are actually pretty connected. Like if shit gets really bad in the US, like Canada is going to be harmed by that too.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so like, who wants this? It's just, it really, I think for him, it's mainly just like a cash grab, you know,
Yeah, I can see it.
and the
Well,
other
like,
stuff
because,
doesn't really matter to
yeah,
him.
what was it when they announced all those tariffs and then a bunch of stock prices dove and then all his buddies bought the stocks and then he like made an announcement and everything went back up again and all his buddies
Yep.
made
Yep.
millions and millions of dollars.
Yep.
I lost money on that. Like I had a few small stocks. Like I'm not a rich person, so I can't buy a lot. But I lost
Yeah.
money, and because I'm like, well, I gotta sell. You know,
Yeah.
how long
Yeah.
can I hold on to this as the price goes down?
Totally. Totally. Yeah. It's not, it's really messed up. And I think that not all, but most of Trump's actions make sense if you view it through the lens of just a dude trying to enrich himself and not go to
Right?
prison in the meantime,
Yeah, for
you know,
sure.
which
Yeah, like
again
even
sucks.
yeah, that's right. Even like you say, like the some of the things he says about free speech or like the rules he wants to put in place or the lawsuits he has against like media outlets or what have
Mm.
you. Like that's absolutely just because he doesn't want anybody to like align him with, like Jeffrey Epstein.
Mm-hmm.
you
Mm-hmm.
know,
Yeah.
so it's just like, yeah, it's all about self-preservation for him.
Yeah, absolutely. And that sucks. Like
Yeah,
I mean, I think like looking back on it, right? I feel like even though George Bush did a bunch of horrific things, including war crimes, and I'm not excusing, there
for
was
sure.
at least in his head, he didn't actively hate the people who voted for him,
Right.
right? Which is like a whole different level of like being president of this country.
Yeah.
It's like you have like active disdain for the people who put you in office. And it's like, oh, again, not to say there's anything redeeming at all about Bush, but it's a different kind of fucked up.
I still listen to the song Megalomaniac by
Oh,
Incubus, which
uh-huh.
was written when
Uh-huh.
George Bush was in power. And I'm like, this applies much better now than it did even then.
Sure, but if that song came out now and was about Trump, can you imagine what
Yeah,
he would
that's
do? He would
right.
lose his shit.
Yeah, for sure. They'd be jailed or, shut down for sure on any platforms or any concerts.
Totally. Yeah. Like I don't think that that's wrong.
Yeah,
I
you're
really
just not
don't.
allowed to do things like that anymore. Yeah, it's wild.
Gosh, yeah. Again, the free speech thing. It's like for us, free speech for us. We get to say slurs. That's what that means.
That's right. Yeah, that's
You don't
right.
get to talk.
Yeah, you have to actually shut up. We
Uh-huh.
get to say slurs.
Right. Right.
Yeah,
That sort of seems like what they're going for. So
yeah. I remember. So yeah, when Bush was in office, I remember thinking that he was going to try and enact the War Measures Act. I mean, maybe it was a bit of a core conspiracy theory that I bought into at the time, because I thought he was going to enact the War Measures Act so that he could have a third term. But I don't know, maybe I'm still just buying into this kind of over the top conspiracy stuff, but I fully see Trump trying to go for a third term.
Totally. Yep. I can see that as well. And I mean, which is kind of astounding, right? Because I have a hard time imagining his cognitive state 4 years from now when he has to debate someone again, or maybe he'll just choose to not do that, right? Like it's within the realm of possibility that he would choose to not do that. I think it's within the realm of possibility that he would try to get states to like shut down their elections, which the federal government doesn't have the authority to do that, actually, which is nice. States are, I think, largely a bad idea, but that's like having them administer their own elections is probably the one thing they got right there. And yeah, I don't know. I think it's really interesting. This probably goes alongside the like, war powers, like, oh, emergency third term sort of situation. But I've heard a rumor that don't take this seriously, right? Like take it with a pound of salt. But I heard a rumor that if Trump tries to run for a third term, Obama might also try to run for a third term, because Trump would have no argument against him running for a third term, which would be funny. I don't know that Obama would necessarily do that. But it's weird. It's weird. There are no precedents anymore.
Yeah.
So people can just kind of do whatever. And so if that were to happen.
Yeah. All these kind of like rules that are just kind of like understood.
Yeah.
And not like fully written out.
Oh my God. I swear this whole country is like, it's like 25% laws and like 75% like gentlemen's handshakes and back rooms somewhere where a bunch of dudes are like drinking whiskey and smoking cigars. It's really wild how we have a lot of laws that I think like kind of in a vacuum look like they would be pretty strong, but we have very few enforcement mechanisms.
Right. Yeah. It can say it out loud, but if you can't back it up, then what difference does it make?
Right, exactly. Or who is going to enforce this?
Yeah.
If you've got the whole government just like stacked with your personal cronies or goons or whoever.
Yeah, for sure. And it's funny to think like, well, it's not funny actually. It's kind of depressing to think that this is still only like 6 months into his the first year.
Yep.
I'm kind of like, what's even going to happen at the midterms? Is this going to be like a thing where there's going to be elections? Like, is this going to work?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to say exactly. I would say most states will definitely have elections. I know I read something about Florida trying to push their elections out a year.
Oh,
which
is that right?
Interesting. Which doesn't, so they're trying to float some shit for sure and see like how far they can push the boundaries. I know all of the, blue states will have their elections as normal. Historically, though, thinking about some of the situations kind of like post-Civil War in the U.S. when people would make these really absurd arguments. And if you could get enough people claiming that there were, disparities or irregularities in the voting, that someone might not be seated, even if they'd clearly won.
Right.
And so there is that feels like it's very much back in play in terms of something that Republicans might try to pull, where they wouldn't necessarily cancel elections, but they would say, oh, these certain people from these districts, X, Y, or Z was happening. We don't trust the results, so we're not going to see.
They've kind of tried that already, right, on other things. So,
yeah, absolutely. With the Supreme Court, that Obama was supposed to get to nominate someone to the Supreme Court, and Mitch McConnell said no. Basically, it's an election year, so we're going to let the people decide and just leave that seat vacant for, I don't remember how long it was, like 8, 9, months, a year. I don't remember
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, so they've been pulling the shit before and getting away with it. I do actually think that going back and like reading up on Reconstruction in the US is something that's probably not a bad idea to kind of see, like, because they haven't really changed their game plan a whole lot,
Right.
honestly.
Right.
Since then, which was a long time ago.
Yep.
This is
Yep.
160 years ago at this
That's
point.
not
So
great.
it's bad. It's actually very, very, very bad. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's not cool. I was thinking kind of earlier when you were talking about kind of the origins of your introduction into the evangelical movement and how you kind of were brought up on the anti-abortion stuff. I was thinking about, like, I listened to a podcast a little while ago about like old preachers on the radio, and like
Yeah.
how they're anti-seg or they're pro-segregation and anti-communist kind of perspectives.
Yep.
And I kind of have seen like almost a through line from there to like your Alex Jones types, to your Fox News types, to your, like, this has been really like a media project too, ever since
Yeah.
the 50s, since for sure the 50s. I would.
Yep. Yep. I just read a book that talked a little bit about that. It's actually called, the book is called Evangelical and Beyond. It's by Blake Chastain, and he's somebody who, well, he coined the term evangelical and has the evangelical podcast, and so he wrote a book and actually did like a lot of research on kind of the origins of I, I don't want to say like white Christian nationalism, but like white evangelicalism as like a nationalist project.
Ah,
And he talks about that too, that
okay.
there was a very kind of explicit push, and it was, evangelicalism was the cover again for the pro-business, anti-labor
Right.
angle, like political angle. And so this was something like evangelicalism was kind of pushed via the media as a way to get people to subscribe to that whole idea of like pulling yourself up by your bootstraps and like
Right.
nobody owes you anything, and you're self-made or you're not, right? And it was really, really interesting thinking about like the implications that this had in terms of like, yeah, radio, like radio preachers,
Right.
people who use that technology when that was really just first becoming a thing. There were a lot of people who, I guess I shouldn't say a lot. There were individuals who had a lot of time on the air to preach these messages that were ostensibly biblical, but were functionally just in support of capitalism.
Right.
And kind of putting it was essentially capitalism cosplaying as like a religious experience for people. And or stolen valor, if that probably makes more sense to conservatives.
Right.
Yeah, and so that was very much like a big intentional push, and like business leaders would organize with evangelicals, including Billy Graham,
Right.
to push these narratives again and to use the media to kind of be on like the forefront of these things. And it's really funny because evangelicals themselves have often been anti-media, and been like, that's like the devil's thing, right? Like we don't watch TV, we don't listen to rock and roll or the radio or whatever, like that's for
Right.
the sinners. But there was also concurrently by business people like this really intentional push to get these narratives of like anti-communism, anti-labor organizing, and like pro-capital, pro-business narratives like out into the zeitgeist. And Blake in his book talks a lot about how successful they were doing that, and he kind of links it up to 2016 and like Trump's
Wow.
first election, even that the media landscape has been actually functionally sort of overwhelmingly conservative. And,
Right.
Conservative in that it's like anti-labor and pro-business, right?
Right.
And he kind of talks about he really does a great job of like explaining the origins of these things. And we for a while had what was called like the fairness doctrine, that you had to give
Right.
like fair, like equal time to both sides if you were talking about a contentious issue, which is like super fascinating to me, honestly. Until I read this book, I thought the fairness doctrine was a myth. Like, I thought it
Right.
was a piece of legislation that got floated at some point, but never actually passed. I didn't realize that it was actually the law until Reagan.
Yeah.
Which is,
Yeah.
again, like super, super interesting based on where I came from.
For sure. For sure.
That there was like very much this push, and that actually evangelicals have been very media savvy, even though what they produce is kind of shit when it comes to like music, movies, television, things like
Yeah.
that. They've always been kind of just doing like the copycat thing. They don't really
Right.
do their own thing. They just try to make an evangelical Christian version of whatever's popular right now. But then you also have to think about the fact that their audience are in a lot of ways functionally fascist,
Right.
and fascists don't care about art.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? Like that's not really their thing. And I think they tend to not like it because it is subversive to the status quo and power structures, or can very easily be subversive to those things. And so yeah, highly recommend if somebody's looking for a book about like how the US got to this point. Honestly, I would highly recommend Blake
Right.
Chastain's book, because like I learned a lot from it, and I'm somebody who again was like raised in this stuff, and I
Right.
still didn't know like a lot of the history that he gets into.
Right.
Um, but yeah, I
That's
don't know. It's like, and it's still actively getting worse. Like there's
right.
still like conservative media companies, companies might not be the right word, like corporations or I don't know, conglomerates or whatever status they are now. I mean, they're getting
Right.
close to like monopoly level, right?
Right.
But they're still accumulating more power and time and airspace and social media platforms, and
Right.
um, yeah. So that is a huge issue. It's a huge problem, but being able to kind of see the really direct line of evangelicals using the media for the past 100 years was very fascinating
No
to me.
kidding. Yeah. No,
Yeah.
that I I think I would really enjoy that book. I've picked up things here and there, right? Like you listen to like the podcast Hate Radio, or you watch like
Hmm.
there was a short documentary series, I think 3 or 4 episodes, that talked about the destruction of the fairness doctrine and how things have gone after that. And then
Yeah.
there was a documentary on Prime called The Brainwashing of My Dad, which
Oh, interesting.
which was the creator kind of followed the way that her dad turned into like a hardcore angry conservative through watching Fox News and listening to Rush Limbaugh.
Yeah. Yep.
And it's just like, yeah, like there's the media, like you say, it's been on the right for so long, and the views that they espouse have gotten more and more extreme. And like, so Rush Limbaugh did a lot of damage, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
uh, and then so you've got your Alex Joneses and whatnot that came kind of after or at the same time, parallel with at some level. And it's just like, now Alex Jones is mainstream, and
Yeah.
he's just a full
Yeah.
on like liar. Like he just says untrue things nonstop.
Hmm.
And this is just where we're at, I guess. I don't really know. Yeah. I
Yeah.
used to imagine that if we had a left-wing version of this, we could have done something.
Mm.
But apparently, they did try that. There was like not a left-wing, but like a more progressive or liberal version of Rush Limbaugh, and it just failed. Like, it went,
I think that the thing about Rush Limbaugh that's really interesting is that he really capitalized on disgust, which is a very kind of
Yeah.
animating emotion for people, right? And it's like
Yeah.
it's really kind of that's sort of antithetical to like at least progressive ideas, right? Like
Right.
use like weaponizing disgust against whole groups of people is just not something that progressives can really do, I don't
Nope.
think. And
Nope.
so like yeah, it's like Rush was able to do that and was, very good at what he did, like very
Yeah.
effective.
Yeah.
And yeah, it just the inverse of that would just not really work for
Yeah.
leftists, I don't think, which sucks because it's like, okay, how do we have these conversations, right? And I kind of
Yeah.
keep coming back to like you've got to at least looking at like what the data says, it's like people are willing to organize around issues that affect them personally.
Right.
And Americans specifically really deeply hate like left-wing socialist communist politicians,
Right.
but they are very supportive of policies
Right. Yeah. Yeah. If
that those
you,
people would put forward.
for sure. Yeah. If you say like, offer them like healthcare,
Yeah.
then they're like, yeah, I want healthcare and everybody should have healthcare.
Yeah, like $15 minimum wage, very popular.
Right.
Very, very
Right.
like which makes perfect sense because I mean it's not this like that is not a housing wage in this country. We're
No.
so far behind. But it makes sense. Like even conservatives will get on board with that,
Yeah.
you know? Um it's basically $30,000 a year. That's not really anything in the
Jesus.
US right now, right? And that's what we're arguing over. Um but yeah, like people having access to healthcare and abortion, like these are things that actually aren't close issues.
Right.
You just have to word it in a way that doesn't get people all riled up and they'll be like, "Oh yeah, totally. Like that makes sense. It makes sense to me that like, if somebody's kid has a brain tumor, they should just be able to go and not be in like $50,000 worth of debt when,
Right.
their kid gets out of surgery." Um
Yeah.
yeah, and so it is really interesting because, people in the US are I would argue a huge number of people, maybe not half, but a huge number of people in this country are not really reachable when it comes to like politicians,
Right.
but are still reachable when it comes to issues that affect them personally.
Yeah.
And because we have such shit policies, a lot of this stuff is starting to affect people personally that 20 years ago it didn't,
Right.
right? A lot of people are closer to like the knife's edge of poverty now
Yeah.
than 15, 20 years ago, right? Again, kind of comes back to that idea of like Bush didn't actively hate the people who put him in office.
Yeah.
And Trump just does. And I think that might ultimately end up being his exclusion from power at some point. Like I don't actually think that he's going to be able to stay in office until he dies, unless he dies during this term, you know.
Fingers
Which,
crossed.
who knows? The magic hamburger in the sky will have a say someday.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I don't know. Evil people tend to live a long time, so who
Yep.
knows what'll happen there. But yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Evil people. I think of the song "Evil Never Dies" by Overkill, which is like
Yep.
really old heavy metal, but
It's a timeless saying though.
yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right. I yeah, I don't know. It's a tough situation. Like I'm not entirely sure. Like it seems like more people are just going to always continue. Like the suffering is going to be increasing, and before it gets better, which is
Yeah,
not
it
good.
does seem that way.
That-
And it's no, people are gonna die.
Yeah,
And that is horrifying. Like it really is. Even if there are people I don't agree with, right? Like, and I think that the thing I always say is like, ultimately, I think what makes me different than like my neighbor, I don't have any Nazi neighbors. My neighbor who is a Nazi is that I want him to be able to take his kid to the dentist and not have to worry about putting gas in his car
right.
on the way home.
Yeah,
Right. And he doesn't want that for me. And that's fine. I don't even fucking care.
right.
Like, I don't care that he thinks I should be homeless and he should have a house. Like, whatever. It's fine. Like I still want his basic needs to be met. Like I don't want his kids to be stressed out about like where's lunch coming from.
Yeah.
And so, that ultimately to me is sort of the difference.
Yeah.
And yeah, unfortunately in the US it doesn't feel like a lot of liberals feel that way.
Oh,
It feels
I
like there's a
know.
lot of like, oh, we need to punish you. Like
Right.
you were bad and so you need to suffer.
Yeah.
And
You're a bad person with bad opinions, so you need to suffer in the way that you would subject others to it.
it's
Yeah.
like nobody wins that.
No, that's right. What it wasn't it like eye for an eye makes the whole world blind? Is that
Yeah.
the thing? Yeah,
Yep.
like,
Totally.
it doesn't work that way. We have to actually approach people with compassion, even if they're awful people on some level.
We really do. And we talked about this on Go Home Ever You're Drunk recently. I don't even know, depending on when your episode comes out, this episode might not even be out yet. But it was really interesting because we're like, what do we do with people who are changing their minds?
Right.
Right? Because there have been a lot of people online are saying, oh, I'm getting hit with the tariffs, or like, I voted for Trump and ICE took my dad, right? Or like, here,
Yeah.
I voted for Trump and couldn't get abortion care when I needed it.
Right.
Right. And so there's people that are having these like, I don't know, like come to Jesus moments for lack of a better term. And like the response that they're seeing online is overwhelmingly, fuck
Too
around and
fucking
find
bad.
out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, we can't win
It's never
if
gonna.
this is how we're treating people.
Yeah, that's right.
And it does remind me a lot of 2016 and like
Right.
the whole like Russian bot thing. And like, I'm wondering how many of these comments are even like real people.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
And not just some kid in Indonesia getting paid, $4 an hour, maybe to like just write nasty comments that Chat GPT created for him.
Yeah, for
Like,
sure.
I don't know. Right. I don't know how much of this is real and how much of this is just like the fucking algorithm and
I hope
bot
it's
farms.
more than like, because it's got to be a non-zero amount, but
Sure.
I hope it's more than I think it is, right?
Right.
As not as many people are awful as I believe.
Yeah, no. And it's, yeah, again, and it's weird because I think that even if these people are in the minority, if the algorithm is putting their comments at the top,
Right. Yeah, then it doesn't matter, right?
then it doesn't matter.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
If the awful comment is the one with 53,000 likes, then
yeah. Yeah, unfortunately. And so, trying to have conversations about like, can we just agree to not do that? I saw a really great somebody sent me like a pretty great video on like here's how you should actually respond if someone's like, oh, Trump did X, Y, or Z to me. I didn't vote for this. That it's like you really have to like orient yourself to sort of come alongside them and be like, wait, what did he do to you? He
right.
promised you he was going to do the opposite. He promised he was going to take care of you. Like, how fucking dare he? He told you X, right? He told you cheaper groceries.
Yeah.
Right? And if you got to gloat, like, do it in the group chat.
Right.
Don't do it in the comments.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, and sure, like if you got to blow off steam, like that's a normal human thing. Like it's fine, right? But it's nobody's gonna vote for your guy, whoever that happens to be, if you're being a massive dick. If like, there's like 70,000 people leaving nasty comments at somebody who's like sobbing because her very sick elderly father got disappeared by the fucking Gestapo. And you're in the comments being like, ha ha, sucks to be you. Like,
fucking hell, eh?
I don't think she's gonna vote for your guy next time. Because this.
You haven't convinced her that you're the compassionate one, that's for sure.
No. Or that she's gonna ever see her dad again. Like you should be saying, I think the appropriate response is, yo, we're gonna get the guys who did this to your dad.
Yeah.
And they're never going to see daylight again. Not really. Like I'm an abolitionist, right? So I think there are other ways to deal with this. I have them in mind. But like in terms of a comment or a response, like we're going to get the guys that did this to your dad and you are going to get your dad back.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do not vote for this motherfucker again is something that I would probably include in parentheses. But like,
Yeah.
listen, like he does not have your best interest in mind at heart at all. Right? Like
Yeah.
he is out here to hurt you. And we're the people who want you to get your dad back because he's an old man who like, okay, sure, he's illegal or whatever. Who fucking cares? We don't
Right.
care.
Yeah.
We want your dad here. We don't care that he's legal or not.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
So anyway, hopefully
Nope.
hopefully someone will get it, or like, I don't know. I really am sort of social media has been so bad for so many things. It's been so bad for democracy, I guess is what I would say.
It makes me think, like, I read something not that long ago about even a lot of the right-wing comments on, like, say, X are bots. And
yes.
like, so like, how, I don't know what percentage of like activity on X is real and what isn't. It's largely why I'm not there anymore.
Totally.
Like,
yeah.
So you always wonder, like, do people really think the way that they seem to think? Like, is Holocaust denial a new thing that is ever very popular among people in the United States?
Right. Yeah. And you know, it's really hard to say. Like you can't you know how going and talking to your friends about like, hey, what do you think about X subject is you're not collecting data, right? Like you've got to
Right.
like inherently biased sample. Like the algorithms make everything an inherently biased sample.
Yeah.
And so there's just no real way to know. Like, yeah, obviously the number of people who are now Holocaust deniers has very clearly gone up. Thanks, social media. I think, you know, and I think that you can infer that from the fact, I don't know how many people are asking this question as like pollsters or whatever, but I think you can really infer that from the fact that like there's a lot more people who are like flat earthers, right?
Right.
And like anti-vaxxers. And it's again that Venn diagram, it's not a circle, but there's some overlap there, right?
Yep.
And so I think if you're seeing growth in like those two areas, that it's very easy to you're safe to infer from that information that we do have that also there's a lot of growth around like Holocaust denial, which again like fucking sucks. I don't know. I don't think that like social media is giving us really an accurate picture of what anyone thinks at all. Right. And so, you know, because it's just the most inflammatory stuff that gets put at the top so that you'll stay on the site longer. Like that's all it is. They're just trying to manipulate you.
I'm so glad that I've reached the point now where that is actually what turns me off of a social media site.
Yep.
If I see a Nazi post, I'm shutting that down. Like I'm not even paying attention to that anymore. Yep. Get away from me.
No, it's true. I mean, and even like, there's not as much of it currently on Blue Sky. Who even knows what will happen?
Right.
But yeah, it's still kind of a lot, and I'm still having to be like really cognizant of like how much of my time I spend.
Right. Yeah.
In those places, because even if it's just like, oh, I'm out here looking for, you know, I'm just like looking for posts from like my sisters and my friends, and I want to see like what so and so was up to this weekend because they went on vacation to Mexico, and I want to see their picture, or whatever the thing is, right?
Yeah.
It's like, again, the algorithm makes it so that you don't even really see that stuff. Like you actually have to go hunting for it, and it's a whole thing. But
I almost fell into the trap on Threads earlier today.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why, but some dude was like saying, I will never vote for a woman for president. That's it. That's the thread. And I just about started in. And I was like, hold on. Is this productive?
It reminds me of oh my gosh, you know that GIF that people always post from Mad Max where he's like pointing up, he's like, that's bait. He's like
yeah, that's right. Yeah.
I was like, yep, that's what that is. Don't
that guy's
care.
Looking for engagement for sure.
Yeah. No, it's like all the entirety of Threads, even though there's some good stuff that gets posted on there, is like it's just uncut clickbait.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah, it's very strange stuff. But I guess we are at about an hour. So is there anything we should mention that we haven't talked about yet?
Well, let's see here. This has been a great conversation. Again, I guess I'll just mention people should check out my podcast if
Yes,
they
they
have any
should.
interest in those things. And yeah, be very appreciative of that. But yeah, it's Go Home Bible You're Drunk and White Homework if you want
Yeah.
to check out what I'm up to. And yeah, maybe tell Canada to allow more people to move to their country.
Actually, we're adopting a lot more restrictive immigration laws.
Oh, I bet.
It's very
I bet.
disturbing.
Yeah.
I have a friend who worked here for 2 years, and then there was an error on his paperwork, and he was out of work for 6 months while he was trying to figure out his paperwork, and then suddenly they were like, "Nope, you got to go back to Colombia."
Oh,
And
wow.
so he's currently still trying to get to come back, but and his kids, of course, they were going to school here. They want to come back and see their friends, and
Yeah.
and it's a whole big thing, and it's just a huge battle, and it costs all kinds of money. Like, I guess, yeah, it sucks a lot. It
Yeah.
sucks a lot.
Yeah, definitely.
I do not like borders, and I do not like governments that restrict immigration.
I know, because it's just like you're causing all of these like yeah, it goes exactly right directly back to the whole concept of like the scarcity.
Right.
It's not real. It's all
Yeah.
manufactured. So,
And in Canada, we have a lot of space, a lot of open space.
Yep.
We are not running out of room. And if we actually put some rules in place about the cost of, rent and housing, then we might actually be able to let like more workers come and have a more thriving capitalist economy. It would be better for the capitalist economy, not even the world I want.
That's the thing. I'm like, why don't you get this? Like, this is better for you. I'm not even on your team, and this is better for you.
Yeah, like, come on now. But yeah, this is the way it is, I guess. But so where can people find you on the social media?
Great question. Actually, I am Go Home Bible and at Go Home Bible and at White Homework on Instagram. And then my personal account is on Blue Sky, which is at toryglass.bsky.social, which is hard to remember. That's what it is.
Yeah, I don't know why they did that.
I don't either. It's very strange.
It's such a pain. But thank you very much for your time. I really appreciate it. As usual, I enjoyed talking to you.
Yeah, this is wonderful. Thanks so much, Corey.